perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the will run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, pushing up just like these boulders. See conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers could give up.
Politics and sinners, they all the same. Got me stuck in this endless game, but I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the receipts. I just want all of you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. You already know how we start this independent music. And I got Rashad Lee, Shots Fired, and we'll be right back right after this.
Gotta holler at y'all. Real. I heard they was shooting, aiming at my back. The best of my city, I leave it at that. Counting me out, said they ain't feeling me. Knew I was coming and covered their tracks. Nigga, I'm throw, yeah, buddy, I'm different. If these niggas solid, then something is missing. Told them I bleed for this shit. People, they needing this shit. I'm hoping they listen. Why niggas laughed at me, now these niggas, they mad at me. I don't know how to take it. Don't mean to brag, really, but I'm back in my bag, silly. I don't know how to fake it. Gotta be built for this shit. Felt the pain, hope they see the passion. Better know I ain't never gonna quit. Nah. Shots fired, right in my back and I'm still alive. Been overworking and no surprise. If they take it to war, no, I'm gonna ride. Man, I had to get over my selfish pride. Lost some partners, I'm hoping they doing better. You don't gotta like me, but can't make me hate you. I ain't even tripping, just do you whatever. Do the most, they ain't moving too clever. I done see niggas get whacked by a bitch. Got my blessing, guess I'm paid in full. Never trust a nigga, I ain't going like Mitch. Been getting busy, won't stop till I'm rich. Just keep it moving, that shit in the past. I can't hold resentment, my nigga, but ain't no contentment, my nigga. That shit is the past. High school, we was chilling in class. Now I don't know you, you feel like I'm different. Ain't never changed up, I just ain't on the same stuff. Make you niggas be tripping. Envy and jealousy, hoping I'm slipping. I'ma be honest with you for a minute. These niggas don't like me, wanna see me finish. I'm back in my bag, push it to the limit. My nigga, let's go. Aiming at my back, the best of my city, I leave it at that. Counting me out, said they ain't feeling me. Knew I was coming and covered their tracks. Nigga, I'm throw, yeah, buddy, I'm different. If these niggas solid, then something is missing. Told them I bleed for this shit. People, they needing this shit. I'm hoping they listen. Why niggas laughed at me, now these niggas, they mad at me. I don't know how to take it. Don't mean to brag, really, but I'm back in my bag, silly. I don't know how to fake it. Gotta be built for this shit. Felt the pain, hope they see the passion. Better know I ain't never gonna quit. Nah. Peace of mind, came from the bottom, it's hard to shine. Ain't had no father, was hard to find. We was hitting them licks, always on the grind. Mama worry, we tell her we doing fine. Let my brother, he find I'm a better way. All these niggas was hating, I felt the pressure. I was breaking, but shit on them anyway. Want attention, I don't feel the need to pay. Got my mind on my pockets, my nigga, I'm Dougie. People been talking behind my back, taking shots at me, see me and tell me they love me. Game wicked, man, this shit'll get ugly. Niggas been teaming up, want me to lose. Aiming at me, had to fight for my life. I was feeling like fuck it, got something to prove. Mask off, I don't play by the rules. Game on the line, clutching on the tool. I take care of business, I do it as God is my witness. I'm time to be fucking with fools. Nigga, I'm solid, you see how I'm moving. Look like a nigga that know what he doing. Shots fired, but I'm still alive. They can stop me from none of the shit I'm pursuing. My nigga, let's get it. Aiming at my back, the best of my city, I leave it at that. Counting me out, said they ain't feeling me. Knew I was coming and covered their tracks. Nigga, I'm throw, yeah, buddy, I'm different. If these niggas solid, then something is missing. Told them I bleed for this shit. People, they needing this shit. I'm hoping they listen. Why niggas laughed at me, now these niggas, they mad at me. I don't know how to take it. Don't mean to brag, bad really, but I'm packing my bag silly. I don't know how to fake it, gotta be built for this shit. Felt the pain, hope they see the passion. Better know I ain't never gonna quit. Nah.
That was Rashad Lee, shots fired. I want to start off this morning with yesterday's Fraud and Waste Committee, and who you're going to see speaking is David Hodge. I know a lot of people have, said that he's not independent. I've heard, all types of shit, right? But he does have a point. Nobody has ever said he was lying, making shit up. This is all shit that he got from DHS, and it's public information. And it really does make you wonder when, you looked at Nick Shirley's and, especially David Hodge's videos. It really does make you wonder, are those places doing what they're supposed to be doing? There is a lot that has came out over the last couple of years about, virtual mailboxes. So maybe a lot of people don't understand, but a place that I will take it is in the 1500 building in Rochester, Minnesota. You have what's in there is a virtual mailbox. A building, it's just a suite where people with some mailboxes in there, and they consider that a business. Not only just a business, but there's a lot of businesses in it. There's non-emergency medical transportations, there's PCAs, all kind of things that we are seeing now in, I won't just say 2026, but really since 2021, have been fraudulent. It's not being, it's whatever they want to talk about. You're against Islamophobics, or you know what I'm saying? It's like it has nothing to do with that. It's just the truth. I'm not trying to call out, or I feel like David, or even I don't know Nick Shirley like that, but I do know people that have talked to David, and I fuck with these people, and I have never felt anything bad or that it was ill intended. You know what I'm saying? It's always just putting the truth out there. It's for you to decipher it. And that's the one thing that I really do feel is a problem in America right now. And especially when it's coming to these midterms, do we want to be ethical and try to make America's streets safe again? Or is it just time to be done with that and fight fire with fire? Because it's kind of about survival before they extinct us. And I know people like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're this. No, if you're looking out into your communities, because I know people are. Just like with the same thing in Rochester, when people are like, oh, it's affecting this business on 2nd Street. Listen, y'all knew that the medical destination center was coming. This has been something that has been talked about for 20 years in Rochester, about making Mayo Clinic the medical destination center in Minnesota, where they would have, entertainment, hotels, nightlife, all in with just a little radius. And you would get a lot of tourists, but what would happen to the constituents, the residents? And that's how people are starting to notice, even in Stewartville. You notice how that pig to human plant is getting bigger. Amazon just opened up the other day. So we're Rochester, Stewartville, all that's going to be booming. And if you guys don't pay attention, you're going to get left behind. So here is this, I guess yesterday was the last committee hearing, right? And there will be some reports, and things like that, but that was actually like the last day that they were going to sit here and have open, and I don't know, I shouldn't really call it honest, but open conversations, you know what I'm saying? Because I really do feel like Minnesotans got raped yesterday. And Emma Greenman, Dave Pinto, and Steve Elkins, I feel like we're part of that. I feel like all of this, it shouldn't have been partisan. It should have been fraud. It should be nonpartisan. And that's where I'm going with this of like, should we remain ethical when we know that the people that we're expecting to compromise or to play nice with is being unethical? And it's all through our legislator. Doesn't matter if it's Bobby Champion. It doesn't matter if it's Emma Greenman, Dave Pinto, the Senate, and both the House. They're being unethical. There is no ethics. These people do what they want to do because their side sees it okay. Does that make it right? When are people going to stand up? Is it going to be when you get priced out of your homes? Is it going to be when you can't find a job? Because everything is, all the low-paying jobs are the cab drivers, the taxis aren't going to have drivers anymore. It'll be autonomous. The same thing when it comes to semi-trucks or even restaurants. It's all going to be AI. I hope people are watching this because I really do get tired of people whining and complaining, because if you were paying attention just a little tad bit, you would see that these things were agendas or plans that have to take years and years to get where it's at today. So if we're going to fix something, we have to go back and look at what was wrong. Because a lot of the things 20 years ago, they probably thought Rochester or even Minneapolis was going to be a certain way. That way is not the same that it was 20 years ago when they were putting these plans into place. It's a whole wild, wild west out here now. And the time is, do we keep on turning the other cheek and being ethics, talk about our morals and our values, when the people that we're supposed to compromise with don't care about ethics, they don't care about morals, and they don't care about values? So how can we have an honest discussion about our future when we're having a discussion with people who are unethical, who have no morals, who have no values, who are against the nuclear family, who are against of having that father in the house? They won't come out and say that they're against it, but when you look at their votes, when you look at the things that they talk about, it's not about the things that matter to the people of Minnesota. It's always the same thing like with Ilhan Omar right now in HCMC, with the hospital. You want to put it on Republicans, put it on the Democrats who allowed these policies to insurance for all. Like, come on, did you not think that was going to backfire? All these policies of being a sanctuary county, free education. Can we really sit here and we really do wonder why our state is shitty right now? Our state is shitty. If people who were here in the 80s and 90s, what do you feel about Minnesota? Because when I look at it, it's not the same Minneapolis that I've seen, that I grew up in. It's not the same Minnesota, because I can even say this of like when I went up north to where my mom is from, Black Duck in the Bemidji area or whatever, I went back to Black Duck, and like a lot of the things that were there when I was a kid, when I would come up there in the summers, it wasn't there anymore. The grocery store was gone, all the little restaurants, the movie theater, and I was like, damn, like has it really got that bad? Where a lot of the things that were there aren't there anymore. I mean, did we ever think that Toys R Us was going to close down? Big Lots? I mean, we are seeing things fail that honestly shouldn't. When they got rid of Kmart, when Kmart had its downfall because of Walmart, Target, Five Below, you know, even I'll even say Dollar Tree. Wow. When Kmart closed down, that should have opened people's eyes. That should have opened people's eyes right then and there. Because what's happening, it's been a domino effect. We're being priced out of home ownership in Minnesota. We're being priced out because of taxes. And people who pay those taxes aren't moving to Minnesota. It's the people that want to be taken care of who are coming to Minnesota, because we're a trans sanctuary state. Or we have counties and cities who have sanctuary policies when it comes to immigrants. Our state doesn't even want to work with, well, I won't say our state because it's really just mainly a couple areas or whatever, but they don't like working with the federal government when it has to do with immigration enforcement. And people say, well, that's not the police job. They shouldn't be dealing with mental health either, but they are. That's not their fucking job. How do you send armed police officer to a mental health situation where a person has no gun, they have no type of weapon, and they come out of that situation dead? Like, this shit is crazy to me how we're such hypocrites in the state of Minnesota. So I'm going to ask again, do we need to be ethical or do we need to fight fire with fire? Because I can tell you right now, I'm for it all. It don't even bother me none. I'm going to be straight up because I went into this already knowing that from the people that were before me, like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, I understood that people that spoke out about the system, they were killed. But it's the people that took the money like Bobby Rush, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, were allowed to live because nobody's scared of them. Because the NAACP is now Negroes always asking Caucasians permission.
So as you know, Mr. Hoke was...
Representative Schultz, just a minute. Okay, please, welcome to the committee, Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and you know, I'll just highlight, and I'm sure Mr. Hoke will introduce himself as well, but you know, I'll just highlight that he is his own independent investigator, someone who's been boots on the ground here in the Twin Cities and likely across the state to investigating the concerns around fraud. That has resulted in part in this being told on a nationwide basis. So to you, Mr. Hoke, based upon your work, my first question for you is, following your concerns being made so public in videos, did the Department of Human Services or the Department of Children, Youth, and Families ever reach out to you to follow up on your claims of fraud?
No.
Mr. Hoke, please state your name for the record and then respond.
My name is David Hoke, lifelong Minnesotan. DHS has never reached out to me, despite the fact that I invited DHS as a whole and Shireen Gandhi to meet with me to clarify that perhaps I was wrong in my investigation and in my data.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, and as has been portrayed, DCYF claimed that they investigated the daycares that you reported on last December and said that they were all functioning normally. You know, we just had Commissioner Brown in front of us last week. She said it to the media and offered no additional information to us in front of this committee last week. But then, following the video, a month later, the owner of one of the daycares you exposed was arrested while trying to flee the country as part of the Feeding Our Future scandal. And as we are all very well aware, last week, another one of the daycares that you reported on was raided by federal law enforcement. Mr. Hoke, do you believe and do you think that the department, the agency, do you believe that they missed some of the red flags?
Mr. Hoke.
I don't believe they missed them. I believe that they were 100% complicit in allowing the fraud to continue.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. Hoke, I think that that's why it's incredibly frustrating why there have been no people fired by this governor, by Tim Walz, that he has failed to protect taxpayer money, that he has failed to hold his agency accountable. It's one reason why we need the Fraud Isn't Free Act. So, Mr. Hoke, your work, it brought so much attention to fraud here in Minnesota. No one has done it more than you have. That the Department of Human Services established an entire webpage attempting to debunk you and your work, including the statement, showing up with a camera and the goal of getting YouTube views isn't the same as conducting legitimate fraud investigations. So were you trying to conduct a criminal investigation, expose blatant red flags and problematic providers that DHS allows to continue to bill the state?
Mr. Hoke.
So when a person is elected to office in the state of Minnesota, there's something they have to do before they're officially recognized in their new position. They have to take an oath of office. And that oath of office is designed to represent the people of Minnesota and protect and defend the people of Minnesota against this very thing. And when someone knowingly and willingly violates their oath of office, that makes them a traitor to the United States. And in my second video, what did I say? I pointed to the camera and I told Tim Walz, I'm coming for you, and told the Department of Human Services, I'm coming for you. And what's happened since? Governor Walz announced he's not running for re-election. Now Gandhi got the boot. And I'm telling you that you better hope that I don't set my sights on you, because especially if you're on this committee, the people want to know, what are you going to do to stop this fraud? Not that guy over there or that woman over there or somebody over there. You're on the fraud committee, for God's sakes. Tell the people what you're going to do individually to stop this fraud. Today, not next week, not a month from now, not another hearing. Tell them today what you are going to do to stop this fraud.
Anything further, Representative Schultz?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you,
Okay,
Mr.
last
Hoke.
one.
And I will just note for the record that it has taken a lot of the work of investigative journalists and the media, the legacy media, many of which are in the room, to help tell this story that agencies and the departments have failed to do. They failed to do their job. And oh, by the way, they're all being paid. They're being paid to do that job, being paid to protect the taxpayers' resources, and they're not doing it. So it's become routine for this level of failure, this level of fraud. And you're right, Minnesotans are rightly outraged by this. But thanks to the work of the three of you at this table and countless others, this story has never been bigger, and it has led to a nationwide effort to combat fraud that I don't think has ever taken place in the history of our country. And we're starting here in Minnesota. We are starting to clean up the mess in Minnesota. And when the FBI raids 22 facilities last week, that is only the tip of the iceberg, specifically on Medicaid fraud. And there is so much more to go. We can't prosecute our way out of it, but through our work in the legislature, through hopefully the work of Vice Chair Anderson's OIG proposal, and through our continued attention to this matter, we can protect taxpayer money for decades and generations to come. Thank you all.
Thank you, Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to reiterate, Mr. Hoke, thank you sincerely for what you did to help expose the fraud and to bring national attention to this in Minnesota. I sit on the Children's and Families Committee meeting. You said you want solutions here in Minnesota. Everyone wants solutions here in Minnesota. I can tell you that when we, the Republicans, have brought up bills about addressing daycare fraud, we were stopped, and the Democrats literally said alleged fraud, alleged. The rest of the country is well aware that there's daycare fraud in Minnesota, apparently, except for many party here. But Mr. Hoke, my question to you specifically is, are you a professionally trained investigator, number one? Number two, the information that you had for going to these daycare centers, was it publicly accessible to anyone?
Mr. Hoke.
The answer is no, I'm not a professional investigator. I work in the construction industry. I have for the last 42 years. I worked full-time. Everything I did was on my own. I wasn't paid for any of it. I wasn't looking for YouTube views or any popularity or any fame. In fact, I've been called a racist and Islamophobe, every name under the sun. But the reality is my target was never the fraudulent childcare facilities. It was the Department of Human Services for funding the fraud and allowing the fraud to go on. like I said in front of Secretary Besson's Fraud Committee roundtable, if you put your hand out and someone puts $100 in it, you're going to stick your hand out again. You got to stop giving out the money. You got to get out there and go look at these places. And when there are 7 healthcare places registered at one address, for God's sakes, aren't you looking at it and going, wait, something isn't right here? Get out and go look at the facility. Hire somebody to go out there and physically inspect these areas and say, this is a liquor store, it's a wire service. You saw the video. I could have gone to 100 of them.
Right.
They don't exist. They're mailboxes, they're phantom companies, and the state keeps writing the check. And people are tired of it. I'm hearing from people not only around the country, but around the whole world now that are seeing the same types of fraud, and it's all pinned back to Minneapolis. We're the laughing stock of the entire world right now because of this fraud. People should be ashamed. If you're elected in office, you should be out front screaming fraud every single day. And the people of Minnesota should be out front with torches and pitchforks showing their anger because they vent on me and they want me to come and do exactly what I'm doing because they would all like to sit here and do this very same thing.
Thank you, Mr. Hoke. And I just want to say for the record that our staff in the interim did go and also look at a number of these places and had a similar experience of finding multiple places registered at the same address, no sign of anyone. So we on the committee did do our own work last summer, actually, and we had a similar experience, and I know other people who have looked into this, and the investigative journalists have as well. Very quickly, Mr. Hoke.
Madam Chair, so sort of the elephant in the room, and again, I'm not Democrat or Republican, I always get painted as right-leaning, but if you look at my history, I ran for Attorney General of Minnesota under the Resource Party banner. I was not a Democrat or Republican. If what I have said is false in any way, if any of the documentation or the numbers I put out are false, why has nobody sued me? I'm claiming these facilities are committing fraud. I'm destroying their businesses. Why aren't they suing me? They know where I live. They know who I am. Nothing. But what I can tell you is I had to put up security cameras around my house and spotlights because people were showing up at my house at 1 and 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to get a gun permit to protect my property, all because I took this on. And I'm not getting paid for it. I'm not an elected official, but you know what? I do it all again because it's the right thing to do. And when I die, I can die with a clear conscience that I did my best to make a difference. Can you say the same thing?
You know, that's the crazy part for me is that, you know, reps and senators want to be protected, want to be safeguarded. But what about the people that are exposing the fraud? Because they're getting threats the same way that people are out here saying that, you know, Somalis and, you know, what about the people that are doing it? Look at Nick Shirley. You have people like weird ass Zach. I don't even know the fuck his name is anymore. Lavish. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, are you serious? Like, I am so bothered that we still accept these people for what they are or who they claim to be instead of actually holding them accountable like we should. And instead of trying to be friends with everybody, why aren't people really trying to make a difference? Why aren't people trying to actually make our communities better? Because a lot of this would stop, you know, and people always want to talk about, oh, it's Republicans, it's, you know, this, it's that, when really, when you break it down, it's just people. Both sides are really calling it out. Both sides. It isn't just Republicans. It isn't just Democrats. It's the fact that you have Democrats coming out that aren't believed. All you got to do is go back and look at, there's a lot of things that you can look at and can tell that people were being fraudulent. And they weren't being held accountable. So even when I want people to look at this right. This is them trying to get a subpoena to Rep. Omar And did it go through? It went 5-3. Now, see, I learned this yesterday. They needed 6 votes to be able to get a subpoena because they needed a majority. 5-3 isn't a majority. That's just a party line vote. So it doesn't do anything. Because I did wonder, I was like, wait, how does that not pass if it has 5 yeas and 3 nays? You know what I'm saying? They're like, how does that make sense? But now that I understand it is, if you have, it has to be a majority. And that's not a majority. And I was like, so that's crazy of how we'll never honestly get the truth because it breaks down in the politics about right and wrong. It's not. This is the whole crazy thing that I don't understand. Even I think about the ethics when it came to Walter and Elliot, is like, why don't you just show the receipt? If you had 1 beer, show the receipt. Like, I don't even understand that. There's people who are in prison who can prove that they're not guilty. And we don't even believe that. We don't even take that. Because in the Supreme Court, innocence is not enough to overturn a conviction. And I think people really, really need to look at that. Everybody wants to say end slavery now. Like, come on. Like, I don't understand that, because we still do, till this day, have slavery in our Minnesota Constitution.
The House Fraud Prevention and State Oversight Committee voted down a measure to subpoena Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
It was an attempt to get communications and court exhibits connected to the Feeding Our Future pandemic fraud scheme. And it would have been a first for the legislature. Lou Raguse leads us off live from the Capitol. Lou?
Julie and Kevin, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar authored the Meals Act very early in the pandemic, which loosened the regulations around the child nutrition program because kids weren't in school. Fraudsters then took advantage of those loosened rules to steal taxpayer money. And the Republican lawmakers wanted to force Omar to turn over communications that she had with people who later turned out to be fraudsters. In last year's trial of Amy Bach and Salim Saeed, 2 of the top fraudsters in the $300 million Feeding Our Future case, the jury saw this video of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar serving meals at Saeed's Safari restaurant, which prosecutors said was Saeed's attempt to make it look like his operation was legitimate.
Her office or her staff was named in multiple trial exhibits.
GOP Representative Kristen Robbins learned that besides that, Omar's staffers were named in other trial exhibits the jury never saw, and she wanted to subpoena those emails from the Congresswoman herself.
Representative Omar had some role, whether inadvertent or not. She passed the Meals Act in March of 2020, and that took the guardrails off the federal school nutrition program, which created the conditions for Feeding Our Future.
When contacted by KARE 11 News, Omar's office pointed out the Meals Act passed with bipartisan support. And when she learned of the fraud, Omar wrote a letter to the USDA demanding answers. Democrats in the fraud committee voted down the subpoena request, saying that if there was any evidence of wrongdoing by the Congresswoman, there no doubt would be federal investigations to ferret that out.
I do not see any value that comes out of this. I don't see, looking at broadly this committee, that this committee would make any decent use of information it would receive. And if there's something to be found here, or even if there's not, I have no doubt that there is plenty of federal investigative energy that would go into it.
And the reason that those particular exhibits were not shown to the jury is that they pertained to a co-defendant who ended up pleading guilty right before the trial started. Now, a formal statement today regarding these requests by the GOP in the Minnesota House. Back to you.
So, Lou, the committee has not seen the communications at this point, correct? Did Robbins or any of the GOP have an argument to that statement about the feds likely would have made this public already or gone after her already?
Basically, what the Democrats in the committee were saying, that if the federal investigators who do the investigation believed that there was any wrongdoing, obviously Congresswoman Omar is a target of Republican leadership, and they would definitely go after that. They apparently have not, or if they are, we just don't know about it right now.
Right.
And the point was that this legislative committee doesn't have really investigative power, so
Okay.
they wouldn't have something to do with it if they got it.
And was there, I'm just wondering, was there a response to that from the Republicans on the committee or no?
Nope, they called for a roll call and they voted after that.
Okay.
See, that whole thing about it's fraud free. It's not. And we're not even doing investigations because I would put it like this. When I've done Freedom of Information Act request or data request and things like that, they send back different statutes of that it's confidential information or it's redacted. If you've ever done a Freedom of Information Act and they have put data in there that is not supposed to be made public, it's usually docked out or it's redacted. And that's the same thing of when it came to this. So there was exhibits that were in Amy Bach's trial, but were not presented. And all they're trying to do is get that information. Now, I will say this. When it comes to where they're trying to connect Ilhan with Feeding Our Future, I don't know what the Republicans are doing, but I would hope that they are going that extra mile and to see, even when it comes to the federal, because I know we're taking fraud seriously, at least when it comes to one party. And a lot of it, I think they're just doing it for political points. I don't even think that it's really to eradicate fraud or like any of that. But I do feel like a lot of it is just performative because there was things they could do. So this is the Fraud Isn't Free Act. So it is corrective action plans, enrollment freezes, agency budget reductions, and employee dismissal required when fraud is committed against a program administered by the state and other fraud prevention provisions established. I do feel like we need something like this in the state of Minnesota because it's right now how we have it is it pays to do fraud, especially if you don't have no loyalty to America. Because these people can just get on planes and go back to their country. They can go back to Kenya, Nairobi, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that. And then we look at these representatives or senators, and we've known that they've done dirty ass shit. But you got to go through all these loopholes to even get to the truth. Like, what I don't understand is why do we have such an issue with holding people accountable? Because that's all it should be. It should be about holding people accountable, not trying to get political points. And this is the thing that I shared this a couple days ago. And the real question shaping American politics in 2026 is this. Do you stand 10 toes down on principles and try to rebuild what's been broken the right way? Or do you get in the mud and match energy? Because you're convinced playing clean is a one-way ticket to getting wiped out. And I really do feel like now is the time of like, ask yourself this. Do we restore the old norms by being ethical? Or do you fight fire with fire to prevent extinction? And I know a lot of people don't understand that. And that's okay, but you need to educate yourself on a lot of these plans because it's real. It's not a conspiracy theory. This shit is actually real. And I do see Ted Turner. He did pass away this morning. And that is, if people don't know who Ted Turner was, he was the founder of CNN News. And maybe some other things. I don't really know much. I haven't really heard him in the news lately or whatever. But yeah, so I do want to say rest in peace to Ted Turner. I didn't mean to cut you off like that myself. but I did see his name, so I wanted to speak on that. But when we look, and we're at the crossroads, because right now is integrity versus survival tactics. And too many folks acting like you can have both without paying the price for one. That's what I really want people to sit here and ponder. Because yes, primaries are coming up. But are we actually do we have that faith? Do we have that we know that the people that we're supposed to compromise with, the people that we're supposed to do bipartisan things with, are being ethical? That's what we really need to look at. Are we really having honest and open and transparent conversations? Because right from the get, you can't do something with Bobby Joe Champion when you already know he's not being ethical. So anything that you try to do is already going to be fucked up, because one person that is already trying to do it has already gone into it with bad values, with bad morals. So how can anything that the legislation that they have authored, that they just voted in, be ethical? When these are shit that people are calling out people. So that's why I really do find it funny when, the ethics committees or everything has been on a partisan vote. Nobody has broke their ranks. No matter if it was DFL or Republican, it's always been voted on party lines when it's time for accountability. So I'm going to ask this, because what I've been told, and one of the things that is a motto for me, is we can't have unity until there's accountability. So why are y'all sitting here wanting to be friends or even friendly with I understand this. America was built on liberty, justice for all, right? But did our forefathers think that a lot of the things that they had written are being taken out of context, are being put into situations that the forefathers, that they never thought about? They never really thought about immigration. So when they put because at one point we had to write an amendment. We had to write, I think it's the 13th or 14th. Oh no, I don't think it's either one of them. But it is one of the constitutional rights. But the way that they read it was for ancestors of chattel slavery, not these immigrants. Because when you look at this bill, you can go back and listen to. I wish, maybe that's one thing I'll do this week is I'll go back and I will look up, because these are all, I know people might find it weird or whatever, but everything that was actually written into like laws and things like that, they do have some type of documentation. It's just like with the Bible. You know what I'm saying? So there is things that they have in historical records, or any type of thing that had to do with Congress or even the Supreme Court. They kept a record of that. It maybe not be in the best type of condition, but I'm sure over the years, they have made it more accessible, or even so people can read that. And if you go back and you look at that, it wasn't about immigrants. It wasn't about people that were coming to this country illegally, having kids, and then we're just giving them naturalized citizenships, because even though they have parents who are here illegally or didn't go through the process to be an American, their kids are already Americans because they were born here. And people don't understand how wrong that is, because it is wrong. That's how there's a loophole of giving these people free health care, free education, free SNAP, because they have American kids. Even though they're here illegally, are not here in the right way, we can't. That's the one thing that I really do want people to sit here and ponder about. Because there's a lot of people in America who came from Minneapolis or other neighborhoods who never got that due process. So why are we expecting to give these people due process when we don't even give our own Americans due process over the years. So to me, it's like I see a lot of this shit as hypocritical. Even when it comes down to like these people running in Rochester for politics, y'all need to go do your homework. Because I can tell you right now what I see in politics, we're trying to change hoes, HOESs, into lawmakers. Motherfuckers that was getting trains ran on them back in the 90s now want to become lawmakers. Make that fucking make sense. You can't turn a hoe into a policymaker. The same thing I say about Mike Lindell. You can tell a lot of people aren't from the inner city when they go, because there were, if people, this is why I can tell there's not a lot of people that have been around crack, that have been around prostitution, that have been around behaviors when it came to being a crackhead or being addicted to something that was stronger than whatever they were doing themselves, because they can claim that they're sober. But sobriety is just more than about being sober. It's about behaviors. And he still has them saying using as behaviors. And to be honest, I think that's a lot. And when it comes into politics, I think they do have that impulsive thinking, because when you look at these financial, all the donations they've been getting, it's like Lindell, most of the money he spent on his own books, and he's paying himself. How is that ethical? How is that right? Just because something may seem that it's a law, that doesn't mean that it's right. That doesn't make it ethical. That doesn't make it anything. And I really do wonder, why do people sit here and say those things? Because at the end of the day, when you really think about it, these people aren't, to me, the DFL is all lies. And I don't know what to think about the Republican Party at this point, right? Because when I look at the Republicans, there is people that I have conversations with, or that I'm trying to spread that olive branch. You know what I'm saying? Because what I really do feel like, I not even had conversations in the last couple of weeks with people that I didn't know, but we had the same ideals. We have the same ideology, and that is to make America's streets safe again. That's all it's about. We can get to the other shit later. Let's win Minnesota back. Let's win Minnesota back. Let's show these people what Minnesota nice actually is. Let's show them what Minnesota nice actually is. Because it's not what these people are seeing. It's not. So it did pass, this Senate assault weapons ban. I want to get into it a little bit. And I know a lot of it was because of Annunciation school shooting, the church. But what about all the other shootings? What about the mass shooting that happened the day before? What about all the shootings that happened in shit, even the last couple of days? The River Center, there was over 100 shots the other night in St. Paul. You have people still being killed in the streets who are being killed by strays. And I'm talking about stray bullets. When are we going to stand up? And they feel like this is the answer. How is this the answer when you still have the CIA or even the FBI still bringing boxes of weapons and guns over North Minneapolis? This isn't a lie. That's not a conspiracy. That's actually true. And because there's too many people that don't believe in it, because at the end of the day, they profit off of that. Doesn't matter if it's Latricia V. This is why the biggest ass problem I have with the DFL, because I personally know that the DFL allows a lot of bullshit in Minneapolis, and they can say it's a Republicans' fault all fucking day. No, this is right now, Minneapolis is a DFL versus DSA, the socialists versus the moderates. This isn't, because Republicans have no standing in Minneapolis, no matter if it comes to the county and even when it comes to the council. I don't think there's been a Republican, it's been like 30, 40 years. So we can't talk about, oh, Republicans did this and Republicans did that. No, when it comes down to HCMC, that's the DFL's fault. Y'all have allowed ordinances, and to be able to, oh, immigrants, come here. You don't do that to Mayo Clinic. You don't do that to Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic bitched y'all last year. This is the one thing that really trips me out, right? Made Governor Walz look like a bitch last year when it came down to that whole nursing thing that they were trying to pass through, but made sure that Mayo wasn't in it. Mayo made sure they weren't in that shit. That one for every other hospital except Mayo, because they were threatening to pull that $5 billion from the Medical Destination Center. And they've already poured a lot of money in here. They poured a lot of money into Rochester. And to think that they were gonna, yeah, come on, man. It was either gonna be their way or it wasn't gonna be no way. And what happened? It was their way. It was Mayo Clinic's way. So when is it about the little guy? Because I hear people talking about insurance and this and that, but y'all are letting these the rich or the wealthy, y'all make it possible for them to pay less and make sure that it's on the taxpayers, the property owners, because those are skyrocketing. You know what's not skyrocketing? The share of taxes that corporations put in. Look at Red Wing. One thing that I had to figure out about Red Wing, right, is Excel, it went all the way down to beat, right? Excel pays 51%, and then the people of Red Wing pay 49%. So it was like really weird or whatever. But anytime like a cost adjustment or anything like that, it always went on the city and never the corporations who were getting tips, who were getting all these tax cuts, but the people always had to pay, and we had to pay out the ass. If people don't look at the gas prices right now, because just yesterday in Grand Meadow, Minnesota, gas was $4.04. Today it's $4.24, and it's only going to go up. I've been getting into arguments the last couple of days with people about the gas prices, and I'm going to say it again. People have short-term memory loss because back in 2022, back in the summer of that year, you were paying almost $4.89 per gallon. $4.89, and that was because of the Russia-Ukraine war, and also because of some they call it stock or like some kind of that issue, right? But when you look at this Iran thing, it's totally different. We haven't even peaked yet at the gas price. And in 2022, where it peaked, it was at 501. And they've already said that we'd get over that. So my thing of it is, are people going to stand up and do what's right? Because it doesn't come down to political parties or even Donald Trump or, because we can say, well, look at Joe Biden. Like, at least we knew that Trump going to be him. We already know what the fuck we're getting from him. But when it comes to the DFLers, we don't know, because all they do is lie. All they do is lie. It's not about actually making things better. How can we tax to make it where it's more fraud? And we'll just let the fraud run rampant and not even try to fix it. That's one thing that I will never understand.
I think about the kids of Annunciation and kids all over our state who have been traumatized.
We're taking political votes instead of passing real solutions.
Well, less than a year after the Annunciation Church shooting, the state Senate today passed a gun safety package that includes a ban on assault weapons.
Today's vote is a significant milestone for the controversial legislation.
And this may be its final stop, with a long road ahead in the evenly divided state house. But if it were to move forward, Minnesota would join a handful of other states with similar laws on the books. The states highlighted here have some sort of assault weapons ban in place. Danny Spiewak's live at the Capitol with more on the legislation and what comes next. Danny?
Well, first, we should probably say that there is virtually no chance that this bill would become law this session because in the tied House, as you mentioned, Republican leadership has repeatedly blocked it from coming to the floor for a vote. But still, this was a significant vote today in the Senate. It was even unclear as of this morning whether they, with their one-vote majority, had the votes to pass this bill. But the Senate, it turns out, did. With Annunciation families watching from the gallery, Senate Democrats put a bill on the floor Monday that includes a ban on the sale of assault weapons and high-capacity magazines.
And the public will know who votes for Senate File 4067.
With the DFL holding a one-vote majority, all 34 caucus members needed to vote yes for the bill to pass. After wrestling with the decision, a few key swing Democrats in suburban and rural districts, including Senator Grant Hochschild of northern Minnesota, announced they would support the measure.
I'm asking my colleagues across the aisle, if I can do it, then you should too.
But Republicans say the gun restrictions would be ineffective and unconstitutional. They offered a failed amendment that would have stripped the bill of its gun bans while retaining mental health and school safety funding.
This is nothing but a political exercise.
As Republican senators spoke on the floor, the parents of Harper Moisky, one of two kids killed at Annunciation, followed the debate from the chamber.
So when I look at this bill before us today, I ask myself the most important question before us: would anything in it have stopped the horrors of that day? My heart breaks that the answer is no.
Ultimately, the DFL approved the measure without a single Republican vote, 34 to 33.
The bill is passed and its title agreed to.
Although the bill has virtually no chance of passing the House this session, Senate Democrats called the vote symbolic.
This bill is something different. This is the first time an assault weapons ban or high-capacity ban has reached a floor in the Minnesota legislature. The first time.
Now, in addition to the assault weapons ban, this bill that passed the Senate today includes also other things like restrictions on ghost guns without serial numbers, binary triggers that make weapons fire faster. But again, virtually impossible that this would pass the House this session. There'd have to be a change in the election next year and the makeup of the legislature for this to move forward. But this session, there is a chance that perhaps the parties could get something done on school safety or mental health. Those are areas where they actually do agree.
So I want to talk a little bit about the bill, right? Here is Brian, I don't know what his name is. It's something to do with the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, right? So I think they voted on today is Wednesday, so yeah, it would be yesterday. Minnesota Senate passed SF 4067, the DFL's massive gun control omnibus bill. This happened actually Monday. I do remember that now. By one vote, 34-33. This bill includes a ban on most semi-automatic firearms, magazine bans, ghost gun bans, criminalizing homemade and 3D print files, ending school carry protections, and more. Now, the fight moves to the Minnesota House, where Democrats and Republicans are tied. This means if we hold the line, we can stop this bill. And I think it will be stopped because what people don't know, and I want to break this down for people, right? Because the House is tied 67-67. And DeMoot is the speaker, so she controls the floor calendar. No bill can be brought up without her approval. And with only 10 days left in session, it is structurally true that she can prevent SF 4067 from receiving a vote simply by not scheduling it. So I guess we will see. I know Brian nobody from the gun caucus, because I do feel like people were paid, right? Yeah, $100. So you already know that people only do this for money, and that just shows. They don't try to explain it to the people of how, like, legally, Lisa she doesn't have to bring this up to a vote. She doesn't. She's the speaker. The only way this gets brought up to the House, and I don't know if every Republican in the House will hold the line. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. Because it is a weird year, especially if somebody is in a DFL area and afraid of losing. Because I do really feel like that has more to do with what's right. Because we can see it. We see it with the fraud. We see it with almost damn near everything else. But yet we don't call it out. We don't try to hold people accountable. And I do want to talk about this for a little bit as well, too. I think this is Savannah Hernandez, but she was the reporter that was assaulted by anti-ICE agitators. She slams the Minnesota media. I'm just here to tell the truth. But see, is this really telling the truth? Because I'm going to say it like this. Stop going into these areas if you don't have protection, if you don't have security, if you don't have a large number of people, because we've seen it with Jake Lang, we've seen it with Zach X, and now you're seeing it with Savannah Hernandez, of people that are right-leaning or Republican-leaning show up in these blue cities. Police aren't there to protect you, bro. They're not. They're not police. You're going to have to protect yourself. Police are not going to do it. So, I really don't understand of how we expect people to have charges put on them when we're dealing with the unethical system. And we see it. So how can you expect the courts to do the right thing when it's controlled right now by some people who are unethical? They don't care about ethics. They've shown us that. They don't care about right and wrong. All they care about is Republicans and Democrats. So again, I'm going to ask people, when is enough going to be enough?
By anti-ICE protesters in Minnesota. The chaos was caught on camera and sparked a firestorm on social media. And now that charges have finally been filed against those who assaulted her, she's speaking out about the so-called justice system in Hennepin County, the mainstream media manipulation, and the controversy. Next. Savannah Hernandez, a reporter for Frontline's TPUSA, is my guest. Great to see you, Savannah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Liz. I'm truly honored to be on probably one of the only media networks in all of Minnesota that actually tells the truth. Thank you.
We appreciate that. There is a lot to talk about that in the wake of what you're saying, exactly with how your story has been treated. It's unbelievable. But I do really want to say right off the top here, we are absolutely disgusted by what happened to you. I said I feel like we need to apologize on behalf of the entire state. But these lunatics do not speak for Minnesotans, in no way show how any member of the media should be treated. That said, I know you have been through quite a lot, so I do want to start right there with how are you doing? I know it's been a few weeks, but you've been through a lot. How are you holding up?
You know, I'm doing a lot better, Liz, initially, and this was unfortunate because I've been in media for almost a decade at this point, and, you know, I kind of have a golden rule, never say no to media hits, especially primetime media hits, but what happened after this assault was it was very draining on me, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and I did end up having to cancel multiple news hits, including, you know, I wanted to get on with you a lot earlier than 2 weeks later, but I'm doing a lot better than I was. And the DOJ did indict Paige, Deanna, and Chris Ashrushko, and that has been very helpful in the process toward, again, just mentally dealing with what happened and knowing that justice is being served in that capacity.
Yeah, I think the videos, it's been difficult, I'll be quite honest, to even watch. You just get so mad seeing this, especially when we think about the First Amendment, the freedom of the press. In one of the videos, we see Chris.
You know what makes me even more a little bit madder about the whole thing when they want to talk about videos. I do believe, I'm not saying that what happened to Savannah Hernandez is right, but we already know these people are not ethical. They don't do the things that their morals and values but matter to them. right? So why, this is my whole thing when they talk about videos, right? We see videos all the time of people that are unarmed, but only have a mental health condition, and they end up dead. How is, oh, I'm not even, motherfuckers hear me or not? Oh, Lord. Oh, man. Let me get back into this.
Christopher Ostrushko encouraging his daughter to blow a whistle in your ear. And apparently standing by like a proud dad. You can really see it in his face as she does just that. And then it becomes this family affair as the Ostrushko's daughter and his wife assault you. And then he shoves you to the ground. I mean, could you even believe what was happening in that moment?
No, Liz, and that's why even in a lot of the clips, because the left wing, of course, has been trying to downplay this, and they're like, oh, look, she's smiling. Of course, they're taking stills from before I was brutally assaulted. But one of the reasons why I was because I was there to simply conduct point-and-shoot journalism. I made a point not to interview. I didn't want to engage with anybody because I know how volatile these situations can be, and I also know that these left-wing protesters can become very easily agitated. And so I made a point to be as small as possible, to not bring any attention to myself. But what happened is William Scott Kelly, who was already previously arrested for storming a church in Minneapolis, he came and identified me and screamed at me until a mob formed. Now, at this point, I'm just laughing it off because I'm like, I haven't done anything to you people. I have been standing here. I'm still trying to defuse the situation. And everybody in the group is either swinging sex toys in my face, hitting me with them, or calling me the most vile names I've ever heard. And I was just kind of baffled by it because I was like, I truly did nothing to evoke this type of reaction. And it was baffling. Like I said, that was just kind of my face of being purely shocked about what was going on. But then Chris and Deanna did come up to me and they started body checking me. And so the left wing right now is trying to run this narrative that I put my hands on people first, but they came up to me and it was actually Chris Ostrushko who had body checked me from behind. At the beginning of all of this, that clip kind of fell under the radar, but it is Deanna and Chris who came up to me and began shoving me. And then after that, that's when Chris does instruct his daughter to go up to me and blow a whistle in my ear. And then the full assault ensues as I'm trying to leave.
Obviously, it didn't take long for these videos of this vile behavior to go viral. It took, though, weeks before criminal charges were filed. As you mentioned, a federal grand jury finally indicted each member of the Ostrushko family, Christopher, Deanna, and their daughter, Paige, each with one count of assault. But interestingly enough, Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty, after unknown delays, has only charged Chris Ostrushko himself. He's been charged with 5th-degree assault. That's a misdemeanor, the lowest assault charge on the books. What do you think of what many others have called kind of this so-called justice system in Hennepin County?
Well, I will say that the decision is not surprising. And in the press release, they stated that they did not find or they had insufficient evidence to bring forward charges against Deanna and Paige. Now, it's interesting to me because a federal grand jury did find probable cause to charge all 3 with assault. However, when it comes to Hennepin County, their office did not see the same thing despite watching the exact same footage. Now, I know that this type of violence has been prevalent in front of the Whipple ICE facility. And one of the reasons why is because
So don't people think that that's
you know, what I'm hearing on the ground is that oftentimes these crimes are not prosecuted. And it's why I'm very, very grateful that the DOJ and FBI stepped in, because what I have seen over my last, again, almost decade of reporting on these protests, reporting on violence on the streets of the United States of America, is that oftentimes in these left-wing jurisdictions, what happens is if you're on the wrong side of the political aisle, or it isn't politically expedient for the district attorney to bring forward charges, they simply won't do it. And I truly believe that is why we are seeing such a radicalization and normalization of violence on the streets of America. And that is why this entire family was in complete shock when they faced consequences to their actions, because for, a long time, it has been very normalized for the left wing to act this way, because the justice system doesn't actually come in and apply the law equally.
Absolutely, well said. And the mainstream media here, that is something else. They've added more than a few insults to injury in your case. Granted, the Minnesota Star Tribune, they heaped praise on Chris Ostrushko. They held him up as a heroic activist, an angry, everyday Minnesota man for his ranting about ICE and federal law enforcement. That happened a few months before the attack at the Whipple building on you. But the Star Tribune hasn't said much since your encounter, interestingly enough, with the family. Then we have WCCO. That's the local CBS station. They seem to almost all but outright deny what is actually happening in the viral video. Their headline stating that you claimed you were, quote, brutally assaulted by multiple people. So I have to ask you, as a reporter, as a member of the press, what do you think about what's going on here in this state with Minnesota media?
Well, to CBS Minnesota specifically, I have never seen such a lack of due diligence or basic journalism in my life. And it's hilarious because so many people try to say that people like myself aren't real journalists. Okay, well, the real journalists did cover this story, and they didn't do their due diligence. They decided to interview two of the protesters who were involved in the mob and who were involved in screaming profanities at me. They decided to interview two of those people who alleged that they were saving me. They completely overlooked the fact that these people, the same ones that they interviewed, were not in the video trying to save me at all. I mean, you can even see them in the background simply gathering this for content. These two people have since made multiple pieces of content downplaying my assault and laughing about it and mocking me by calling me little Erica Kirk. However, they allowed these two men to utilize their airtime to state that I wanted to fight these protesters and that I was there instigating things and that they were trying to save me and I didn't want to be saved. Keep in mind, Liz, that every single time I tried to leave that situation, I was attacked from behind. And then these protesters say, she was swinging, she was scrapping. I defended myself one time after already being attacked from behind by all three of the family members. And after I had gotten pushed down to the ground by Chris Ostrushko, I stood back up. Again, this is the third time I got slammed to the ground. And Paige Ostrushko was back in front of me. And I realized at that point, she wasn't going to let me leave. That was the one and only time I defended myself in that situation. Because again, I wasn't there to try to fight people. I wasn't there to debate. I wasn't even there to interview. I was there to conduct observational point and shoot journalism, but apparently you're not allowed to do that in Minneapolis.
You know, I do have to ask, though, from all of this video, one reporter to another here, Savannah, when did sex toys exactly become the flagship symbol of protest? They're literally everywhere.
Yeah, it's a mess, and Minneapolis truly did take the cake. I don't think I've ever seen as many sex toys in one place as I did there, and I was just like, this is so typical Minneapolis. I would expect nothing less, unfortunately.
It was kind of, when I seen that as well out at the Whipple building, it reminded me of when we were downtown Minneapolis, when we were like a week, we were down there camping out on Hennepin County courthouse lawn or whatever. But it made me think about like all the things that you would hear about like sticking wine bottles up their pussies and doing all kind of other weird shit. And if I'm lying, I'm dying. But yeah, that's what made me look at these people in another light, because I would hear one thing, but then I would see actions that would go against that. It was about protect women, protect Black women, but yet I would see them do things to Black women, or I would see them do things to kids, or I would, so it's like, how can they talk about being just and, talking about wanting change, but they were actually part of the problem and not part of the solution. So that's one thing that always kind of, it feels like they want us to be okay and desensitized to some things, but yeah, I still don't understand of how it took the feds to actually come in here and charge, when the right thing to do, Mary Mortery, was to charge the people that you seen on video, do their things to even if we don't like them, right? Because I don't see you niggas out here touching Star Tribune or CBS or Fox. You motherfuckers will say, "Oh, you can't come here, you can't come here," but they'll still shoot their stories, right? And y'all still want to be in front of the cameras. But the only thing of it is, when it's a right wing or anybody that doesn't think like a jackass, like a VFLer, then it's a no-no. How is that? Like, when we even talk about freedom of speech, or even having the ability to be able to observe and watch the things that are going on, and it comes down to politics, it's not right, and it never should be right. So I don't understand it. Uh, and I have my problems with Liz Collins. I mean, she isn't all rainbow and sunshines to me. I do feel like she is a biased reporter when it comes to some things, but then is very open about others and really doesn't like to put the whole story out here. Because I will say this, even when it came to the fall of Minneapolis and she did about Derek Chauvin, why not show the shit that Chauvin was actually doing? You know, he has other victims. You know, Minneapolis has paid out others about Derek Chauvin. MRT was not something new. And again, she was really the only media that was bringing it out there, but you were only telling part of the story, not the whole story, because you wanted to make the police officers look good. And it shouldn't really be about that right now. If it's about the truth, then we should put the truth out here, right? Not a narrative that makes one side look better than the other. Because right now, both sides are looking real shitty. I'm going to be straight up honest. The DFL, all I see is fraud. And then when it comes to Republicans, I see motherfuckers just standing back because they don't want to really actually do the work for the people. They just want to do it the laziest route. And to me, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a bunch of legislators, both Democrat and Republican, who do not want us to see the truth. Doesn't like, and it sure the fuck isn't about race at that point, because we can't even get what is right and what is wrong, because these motherfuckers out here want to make it Democrat and Republican.
You know, we have been out to the Whipple building ourselves. I was called all kinds of lovely names. I'm a bit of a chicken. I stayed on the other side of the fence, I'll be honest. But I really do have a hard time believing that so many of these people, they just go out and scream into bullhorns every single day. They've been following people who leave the building. That's been going on for months, harassing these people. We've reported on that as well. What is your thought, though? In many cases, these seem like well-organized, well-funded groups behind all of this, but yet they're still allowed to continue. Here we are months later, and these same groups are going to the Whipple building daily.
Yeah, honestly, Liz, I'm quite frankly shocked that this type of behavior is still being allowed to go on, especially since many of these innocent Whipple ICE facility employees are being followed to their homes. That is not a First Amendment right. That is not peaceful protest. When you are harassing people, when you are targeting people, when you are following them to their homes to threaten them and threaten their lives, that is not peaceful protest. I also watched a trans activist about 30 to 45 minutes before I was assaulted jump up and down in front of the Whipple ICE facility and declare their loyalty to Antifa. The Trump administration has declared Antifa a domestic terrorist organization, and I hope we start seeing follow through with that, because we wouldn't be allowing activists to jump up and down in the street pledging their allegiance to ISIS. So why are we still allowing this to happen with Antifa, who are a clearly very violent group? So I am hoping to see continued follow through from the DOJ on this, because this is a very well-organized group. I mean, we have all seen the chats that they have, the signal groups, how coordinated they are in terms of targeting and attacking people.
Yeah, I think that is the hope here as well, just to get this madness to stop. I know you have been actually through something like this before. This is the second attack essentially on you out in the field, so I can only imagine your hesitation to go out and do it again. Are you planning to still get out there and cover this kind of news? What kind of message do you want, your situation to send?
Liz, I was scared, and it was a mental hurdle for me to have to think about going back out. But I would like to personally thank CBS Minnesota for reminding me why it's important for me to be out on the ground, because the mainstream media is not doing their job. They refuse to do their job. And if anything, they're trying to actively cover up intense violence on the streets of the United States of America against people who they feel are their political opposition. And that is not right. I'm here to tell the truth. And because the mainstream media refuses to do it, I will be back on the ground, making sure that American stories are heard, because oftentimes it isn't just me who's ignored by the media, but everybody in America who truly has issues that they want to bring light to. The truth is very often overlooked.
This is why you're the best, Savannah. Absolutely. And I do have to ask, given the ways in which the justice system, seems to have failed you in this case, are you planning any kind of civil action? I'm sure that's a question you're getting quite a bit of.
We will have to wait and see, Liz, but I am hoping to utilize the full force of the judicial system against these people to make sure that, again, a very strong message is sent that you cannot attack people with impunity.
A reminder that you can follow Savannah's great work at Sav Says. That's SAVSAYS.
And that is right. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody should be able to be down there, be able to protest what they're protesting for. She went down there to observe. I don't know Savannah's whole story. I do see that a lot of it is fucked up, especially when it came to CBS Minnesota and how they portrayed her as like she was exaggerating. Like, you're having men put their hands on women. How is that not like okay? And it's really crazy how CBS portrays it like that was okay, because that's what I really think about when I have read CBS's report on it. And it wasn't okay. A man should never put their hands on women. Never. To me, that's a coward. That's a bitch. And that's why I say the same thing about Andrew Mercado, Jonathan Mason. To a lot of these people are pussy to me because they act tough, but yet when it's time to actually get down to the nitty gritty, they act like bitches. This is the same thing when I said about Jonathan Mason. That nigga got bitch slapped by a Natives Lives Matter protester. And there is video. Listen Up Media has the video. if motherfuckers want to say that shit is a lie, go look back at. He got me blocked, but Listen Up Media. The nigga caught it on film. And it's crazy to me how we get so bamboozled in Minnesota. And I think people are more in love with attention than accountability. And they really do have short-term memory loss. And I'm going to say that again. These niggas have short-term memory loss because I don't understand it. It's like people get up in a row and you can tell that it's all matters if they're Democrat or they're Republican. So I want to play this last story of the day. And I just thought it was interesting because 9 of the daycares that the FBI raided, they got over $67 million in funding. $67 million for funding. That's like $8 million per daycare. And it's like, when are people going to finally stand up to what is being done to us and say enough is enough?
Just how much of your tax dollars flowed to those daycares raided by the feds last week? It was all part of a sweeping fraud investigation, and now Orion Raish is tracking the money with some eye-popping numbers.
I want to focus on those 9 daycares raided by the feds. We have learned the state sent them $67 million in the last 8 years. That's your tax dollars spent on this child care assistance program known as CCAP.
There are no charges yet, so we don't know how much of that $67 million could be fraud. But what we do know may help us understand what investigators are looking for in all those boxes that agents hauled away.
We look back at the last 8 years, but I want to focus on just the last 2 years and state data that we obtained. These 9 providers went from collecting about $8 million in 2023 to more than $16 million in 2025. That's more than double in just 2 years. But then look at this. The number of kids served remained relatively flat. A little fluctuation, but right about 1,000 kids every single year. Who's watching this?
Nobody.
Phil Krinke is a former state lawmaker, a small business owner, and a longtime watchdog with the Taxpayer League of Minnesota.
So I think voters are very frustrated with the entire situation. I don't think it's Republican, Democrat. They're just frustrated.
Frustrated, especially when the warning signs were there. In 2019, the legislative auditor warned state leaders about a lack of oversight. The report finding that, quote, program integrity controls are insufficient to effectively prevent, detect, and investigate fraud.
You put water in the bucket, and if the bucket's empty in the morning, what do? You check to see if the bucket's got a hole in it, and nobody bothering to check that the buckets, they just keep dumping more water in.
Just like in CCAP. Now let's zoom out and look at this entire program. And keep in mind, this is a publicly funded program for families that can't afford childcare. Now, since 2020, the state has paid out about $1.5 billion to all daycares who participate in this program. And look at this explosion. Back in 2020, they paid out about $188 million, and it shot up from there. Last year, they paid out about $367 million. Now, I've learned there are reasons for this, like an increase in federal funding, a change in the rate paid, and a new formula. But here again, look at the number of kids served. It stays relatively flat, about 30,000 kids every single year. This same issue came up the last time 5 Investigates interviewed former State Attorney General Lori Swanson.
Whether it's business, a school, a nonprofit, if something grows that much, makes sense to ask why is it growing that much and how could it grow so fast?
These numbers are actually an undercount. The data we obtained does not include centers that received less than $100,000 in funding. And a quick note about how we got this data. It's from the State Department of Children, Youth, and Families, but they did not give it to us. We learned Representative Kristen Robbins had a copy, which she received through a public records request to DCYF, and we actually made that same request back in December. And we still have not received it, nor have we received an explanation for why. Robbins asked for it in March, got it back within about 2 weeks, and she recently shared it with us so we could analyze.
On our end, though, still waiting. So good to get it from.
And that's crazy to me of like, why haven't people been accountable? Lawmakers, DHS employees, like we were literally letting all this money run out and nobody wanted to. Well, I mean, I wasn't talking about the Somalis, and I'm sure there was other people, being whistleblowers like Philip Parrish and, Faye Bernstein before there was ever a Nick Shirley. And it's crazy. We're still seeing the same shit today, and nobody is being held accountable. And nobody's really trying to be transparent and give us transparency. When it comes up to this shit, when it comes to the fraud that has been stolen from our communities. So I don't know what else to call it. They stole it from the taxpayers. They stole it from the poor people. They didn't steal it from anybody that's rich because they're not missing it. Can you actually tell that only people that are stressing out about it are the people that don't know how to fix it, because we're not being held. I shouldn't say we aren't, but we're not being listened to. Nobody cares about us. They don't care about the little guy. So I'm gonna say that again. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna do another episode. But here goes. Too Filthy Ricky, no pain. Fuck the labels and fuck the government. That's all I'm saying right now. Doesn't matter if it's the president, doesn't matter if it's the governor, doesn't matter if it's the House, state, U.S. reps. None of all these motherfuckers are being fraudulent because when it's time to be transparent, these niggas ain't. Doesn't matter if it's Omar, doesn't matter if it's Americans, because the reason why a lot of this shit got out of hand with Somalians in Minnesota in the first place is, which nobody wants to fucking talk about, is how Emmer and Ellison started the Somalian caucus back in 2015. They wanted to be a part, even though they're not assimilating or even acting like American citizens. We just Anyway, so I'll see y'all tomorrow. Wish me well. See y'all tomorrow. Hold on. Oh my God, I'm so tired of this. The music never plays. I don't know why that's happening so much recently. Fuck. Let me see. Stop.
KJ let the beat knock. It's just that old devil trying to keep us apart. Say, devil, you ain't got nothing here. I'm holding to my man.
You know, the other day, I was trying to figure out what the fuck my purpose was on earth, right? What happened? Talk to him. And something just blanked in my head like, what? The obstacles is your strength. It's your strength. Right. Everything happened for a reason. What happened? Talk behind my back, that treason. That shit was so foul, you did. I cut you off and I ain't give you a reason. Wanted to crash on you, spaz on you. But fuck you, get a bag on you. They'll never tell them about the good, but they always tell the bad, don't it? Everything happened for a reason. What happened? Talk behind my back, that treason. That shit was so foul, you did. I cut you off and I ain't give you a reason. Wanted to crash on you, spaz on you. But fuck you, get a bag on you. They'll never tell them about the good,